John Stuart Mill's political and social philosophy, a modern perspective. John Stuart Mill's philosophical contributions were revolutionary for his time, and his political and social theories continue to influence modern thought. As an advocate of individual liberty, democratic governance, and social reform, Mill's ideas about human freedom, equality, and justice laid the groundwork for many of the liberal principles that define contemporary political and social systems. His works continue to offer a framework for thinking about the rights and responsibilities of individuals and the role of government in promoting the well-being of society as a whole. The harm principle and individual liberty. Mill's most famous contribution to political philosophy is his harm principle, articulated in On Liberty, 1859. The harm principle states that individual liberty should be protected unless a person's actions harm others. In this respect, Mill placed personal freedom at the center of his philosophy, arguing that people should be free to pursue their own goals, beliefs, and happiness as long as they do not harm other individuals or infringe upon their rights. For Mill, liberty was not merely the absence of interference but also the active ability to pursue one's personal development and happiness. Mill's harm principle remains one of the most important guiding ideas in liberal political thought and has influenced modern discussions of human rights, civil liberties, and government intervention. It provided a balance between individual freedoms and the collective needs of society, allowing for a more nuanced view of when and how the state should intervene in people's lives. Mill argued that personal liberty is essential for human development and progress, both on an individual level and for society as a whole. In his view, the suppression of individuality and the stifling of diverse opinions was detrimental to the intellectual and moral growth of society. Freedom of expression and the marketplace of ideas. A key element of Mill's philosophy was his strong defense of freedom of speech and expression. In On Liberty, Mill argued that society should allow the free exchange of ideas, no matter how controversial or unpopular they might be. For Mill, the freedom of expression was essential for discovering truth and advancing knowledge. He famously argued that the worth of a state in the long run is the worth of the individuals composing it, and that individuals should be free to express their views without fear of censorship or punishment. Mill's defense of free speech was grounded in his belief that truth emerges through open debate and the testing of ideas. He argued that even false or harmful opinions should be allowed to be expressed, because the process of challenging these ideas helps to clarify and strengthen the truth. Mill's ideas on freedom of speech have had a lasting impact on the development of democratic principles and free press, and they continue to inform contemporary debates about censorship, social media, and the role of government in regulating speech. Democracy and the role of government. Mill's ideas on democracy were revolutionary for his time. He believed that democratic participation was essential for the flourishing of both individuals and society. However, Mill also acknowledged that democracy could be flawed and that it could lead to the tyranny of the majority, where the rights of minority groups are repressed. To prevent this, Mill advocated for protections for minority rights and for a system in which political decisions were guided by reason, deliberation, and moral principles. Mill also recognized the limits of laissez-faire capitalism, particularly with regard to social inequality and the exploitation of workers. He argued that while economic freedom was important, it was not enough to guarantee the welfare of all citizens. He believed that government intervention was necessary to address social issues such as poverty, education, and public health. Mill supported progressive taxation and believed that governments should play a role in reducing economic inequalities and promoting the general welfare of society. Gender equality and the subjection of women. One of Mill's most progressive stances was his advocacy for gender equality. In The Subjection of Women, 1869, Mill argued that the social, legal, and political subordination of women was a form of injustice. He believed that women were entitled to the same rights and opportunities as men, including the right to vote, work, and receive an education. Mill's arguments for gender equality were radical for his time and were part of a broader movement toward women's suffrage and equal rights. Mill also believed that women's participation in the public sphere was not just a matter of individual rights but a matter of social progress. He argued that the talents and abilities of women had been suppressed by patriarchal social structures, and that the exclusion of women from public life had detrimental effects on society as a whole. By advocating for women's rights, Mill helped lay the foundation for the feminist movements of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Legacy and modern impact. John Stuart Mill's contributions to liberalism, democratic governance, and social equality continue to shape contemporary political thought. His ideas on individual liberty, democracy, and social justice remain influential in modern discussions of human rights, civil liberties, and the role of government in promoting public well-being. Mill's advocacy for women's rights, free speech, and economic reforms contributed to social progress in his time and continue to resonate in current debates on equality, freedom, and social welfare. Mill's influence on modern liberalism is undeniable. His defense of individual rights, his commitment to democratic ideals, and his recognition of the importance of gender equality and social justice have made him one of the most important political philosophers in history. Mill's work remains an essential reference point for anyone interested in understanding the balance between freedom and social responsibility in contemporary society.